Hi guys. I just wanted to take just a few minutes and kind of make a short summary of how to make the face masks for the doctor's offices and even personal use, I guess. I know that they're in short supply. There's a big demand for it and a lot of people are volunteering. Clinch Memorial Hospital has a tutorial that they are providing for people who are sewing masks for them. And that's the one that I'm kind of going to be going by. I'm tweaking it because it didn't kind of work out really well the way that I wanted. And also I found some better material and more material that's more like what the hospital uses. So really quickly, what you need is a material for the outside of the mask, a patterned material. It could be a t-shirt, 100% cotton or a polycotton blend. And then you need a liner, material for the liner. I am using polypropylene. That is what Clinch Memorial was using when they were handing out supplies for theirs. They were using a medical sheet, which is also made out of polypropylene. They were using polypropylene fabric, and then they were using felt as the filter insert. I'm pretty sure that's what it was used for. I'm not using felt. Have found a better kind of way to do that. So you need your material. You need polypropylene. Hobby Lobby sells it. I got 6 yards. It was $2.99 a yard. It may have been on sale. I didn't pay very much money, and it's 60 inches wide, so it's 5 foot long, and it's $2.99 a yard. It goes a long way. And the masks that the hospital use, the ones that you see doctors wear in doctors' offices, made out of polypropylene. So that's why I got it. It's breathable. It's not air constricting, and from what I found out, it filters bacteria, and that's obviously why they use it. So that's what I'm using. I'm using fabric, I'm using polypropylene, and I'm using elastic. I have elastic. Elastic is in short supply. You can't find it on Amazon. You can't find it at Hobby Lobby. I've looked at Michael's. I've looked at Joann's. It's crazy ridiculous. But I did order elastic ribbon, which is you can find on like hair bow websites for cheer supplies. Like it's kind of like regular elastic, but it's prettier because it's supposed to be seen. And it was super cheap. I can give you the link to that if you want it. And then I'm gonna make the one that has the pocket for the filter. So if you're gonna make the one with the pocket for the filter, you want obviously the filter. Someone has suggested felt. I don't know how breathable that is. A Lysol wipe, air dried, and then you fold it and tuck it in. And then a HEPA filter from like Home Depot or Lowe's, something like that. You just cut it and iron it out to the size that you need and stick it in. That part would be disposable. The mask is washable. So, and then obviously your sewing machine, thread, all that sort of stuff. The website has got the pattern on it. I've also tweaked the pattern. This is the teenage and woman size pattern, and it has the seam allowance with it. And then the pocket lining also had a seam allowance, but I'm using polypropylene. There's no need to have a seam allowance for this edge. This, yes, because this is going to be sewn. This is not. Polypropylene does not fray. It does not tear. You cannot iron it, so don't do that. I learned that the hard way. I don't need that seam allowance. So I'll give you the link that Clinch Memorial gave me. You can use it straightforward the way they use it. I am going to probably recommend that you use cotton polypropylene together, not 2 cottons. I've tried 2 cottons. It's not really breathable, especially not if you're going to insert a filter into it as well. So with that being said, I'm just going to run through real quick what I'm doing, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm not a seamstress. I don't have all the answers, but I will do my best to help. We need to get out as much of these things as we can. Okay, so your first step is to take your fabric, your outer fabric, your liner. This is my polypropylene. This is my fabric. You can see the polypropylene looks like a sterilizer mask. It's really stiff and rigid, but it's also very breathable. So I took and cut 2 of each out using the template provided in the tutorial. This is the main fabric template. Cut that out, 2 of those. This is the liner pocket fabric, I cut that out, but I also eliminated the 1/2 inch seam allowance. If you're using cotton or any kind of material that will fray, you need to use the 1/2 inch seam allowance, add that back. I did not. I'm using polypropylene, so we don't need it. So you cut it out. She says cut it out wrong side together. I cut it out right side together like this, sandwiched, and I have had no problem. So when you go to sew it, you need to sew it right side together. The polypropylene doesn't matter. It just needs to line up. It's the same on both sides. But this is your outer lining. So right sides together, and then you're going to sew along the curve on this one and sew along the curve on this one. When you're done sewing, you're going to go back and you're going to clip. You can see I clipped all the way down the curve with scissors on both the liner and the material. This is going to help when we flip it inside out, not to put so much stress on the seam, and it'll give it some flexibility with the curve. So once you've got this done, you've done those steps, what you need to do is go back and iron. You're going to iron this seam flat on one side. So, and it's going to be kind of difficult because it is a curve. You can put something under it. A roll of paper towels may help. Iron it all down so that it all lays on one side. And then you're going to go back. Don't do this. This does not need to be ironed. It's stiff enough. Just if it's a little long, clip some extra off. You're going to go back and do a top stitch. After you've ironed that seam down, go back and do a very small top stitch, pretty close to the original seam, all the way down that curve originally sewn. And this is what that will look like. So this is the original seam where I folded the two pieces together, and this is the top stitch where it catches underneath all the way down. So you will see it looks a little more finished on the outside. The next step is to take your liner, your outer fabric, line the seams up from where you've sewn, line them up at the top all the way down to the bottom, and this is right sides facing together. So if you flip it over, you're going to see the fray, you're going to see that. You're going to line them up top to bottom, make sure that it's all straight and even, and then we're going to sew along the top, and then we're going to sew all the way across along the bottom. So I've sewn along the top and the bottom, and then because this is a curve, again, you're going to want to go back and you're going to want to clip along the edge. I clipped all the way to the end. She says to stop about 1/2 inch from the end, leave it unclipped. I didn't do that, and it's not that big of a deal one way or the other. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to flip it right side out by drawing it out through the side pocket that's open, and then we're going to press the seam flat. Be very careful not to get the iron on the poly. I've turned it inside out. I have pressed the seams with the iron. You may find it helpful, I do, to cover it with another piece of scrap fabric just to make sure that you're not hitting the poly because it will melt. So I covered it with an extra piece and then I ironed over it just to give it a flat seam, because now, and this step is optional, I don't know that I 100% will do it with every single one. It does give it a finished look like it does in the center. Now we're just going to top stitch again from the top all the way over to the end, and then again on the bottom. You want to fold this side in first, once and then twice, like that. You may want to press it, you can pin it, and then from here on, that's when you sew. So we're going to sew, it'll be sewn down. So it'll be finished on the outside. Make sure that when you sew this next step, you're not catching the liner pocket, because this is where we're going to slip the filter in, and if you sew it, you're not going to be able to access that slot. So that's the next step. Okay, I have sewn up the side all the way around the perimeter all the way down and back again, so that now there is this lovely top stitch that makes it look really finished. Again, not necessary to do the top stitch. You do want to fold this under and sew this under so it doesn't unravel, but the top stitch isn't necessary. So this is what it looks like after you're done at this point, and the only thing left is to add the straps. Now I'm going to use elastic, and I'm going to do it in my own way because this is what I prefer. You can use ribbon if elastic is hard to find. You can use bias tape. You would just cut a length and attach it to either side like I'm going to do with the elastic, except for it's not one full piece. You would obviously want to tie it in the back. My elastic is going to be attached from here at the top, and I'm going to zigzag stitch it to reinforce it so it will stay. It's going to get a lot of use, so it's going to need a lot of strength. So I'm going to cut a 12-inch strip for the top, and I'm going to attach it to either side at the top like this, and then I have a 10-inch strip, and I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom, just like this. Again, if you're going to use ribbon, you would just sew one piece here, one piece here, and then another piece here, another piece here. That way they can bring it together and tie it in the back, or bias tape, either way. So I'm going to sew that, and then I'll show you what it looks like on the face. Okay, so I'm finished. I've got the mask on. Again, I said this was a man's mask, so it is a little bit larger on the side of my face. The women's is more snug against the side of my face. But this is what it looks like on. The top elastic goes over the ears. The bottom elastic goes around the back of the neck. This is a little bit long. I don't know if maybe I need to make it a 1/2 inch tighter. I measured 10 inches. I might need to do 9.5. But I can breathe. It's not constricting. And again, this is what it looks like on the outside. This is what it looks like from the inside. And there's the slot for the filter. Felt, another layer of the polypropylene, an air-dried Lysol wipe, or a HEPA filter for an air purifier from Lowe's would work just as well.